Buying solar panels sounded like a good idea, but the reality is they're now costing you money. If you bought your panels in the past 6 years with a loan from Barclays, Shawbrook, Creation or Ecarno, and they failed to live up to expectations, then you may have a case for thousands of pounds in compensation. At Solar Claims UK, many clients receive their settlement within 4 weeks. So text SOLAR to 60777. Text SOLAR to 60777 now. You don't need a claims management company to make a claim, and if unsuccessful, you can refer it free to the Financial Ombudsman.
On today's programme, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon battles with the PM's trip north of the border.
People like me and Boris Johnson have to be in work for reasons that I think most people understand. Is that really essential right now?
Which forces ministers to defend the trip.
I think it's only right that the Prime Minister goes to the front line.
And we hear how Brexit red tape has wiped the grin off the face of a Cheshire cheese company. In sport, Sheffield United pull off a shock. I'm Kevin Pashby. This is the Lunchtime News from Radio News Hub. First, this lunchtime, all eyes are on Scotland today as Boris Johnson makes a trip north of the border. But he's apparently not welcome. The First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon's made her position clear. She doesn't think the Prime Minister's trip can be classed as essential. With the latest now for the Lunchtime News, here's Derek Clark.
Some say it's a clash of the leaders. Boris Johnson will visit Scotland to highlight the support given during the pandemic. He'll argue the union has been integral in administering the coronavirus vaccine. But Nicola Sturgeon questions whether he's following the rules.
That has to apply to all of us. Now, people like me and Boris Johnson have to be in work for reasons that I think most people understand. But we don't have to travel across the UK. Is that really essential right now? Because we have a duty to lead by example.
The First Minister is asking whether the Prime Minister needs to visit the country today when the coronavirus advises not to travel unless you have to. It comes as there are growing calls for another referendum. The PM's visit is widely been seen as reaction to polls indicating a rise in support for independence. The SNP say if they're re-elected in May's election, then it shows people want another referendum. Meanwhile, Cabinet Minister Michael Gove says it's only right the Prime Minister visits Scotland to meet those on the front line of the pandemic, saying any leader would do the same thing.
I think it's only right that the Prime Minister goes to the front line, learns from those who are responsible for the vaccine rollout, and also makes sure that we do even better. That is part of the job of any leader, to thank those who are making a difference in keeping us safe.
Next this lunchtime, a Cheshire cheese company has told us Brexit red tape has left them with a £250,000 hole in its finances. Jules Utebridge has all the details.
The Cheshire Cheese Company were expecting a smooth Brexit transition. They've enjoyed exporting their award-winning cheesy gifts across Europe for many years, but they knew something wasn't right when they started to get things returned, and they soon found out why. They didn't have the right paperwork.
As it stands at the moment, if we were to send a consignment that was a container load of cheese, or 1, 2, 3, 25 pounds of the cheese, we would have to get a health certificate with it costing £180.
That's Simon Spurrell, the MD of the firm, which is based near to Macclesfield. He's now one of many who are facing extra costs for something called a veterinary approved health certificate.
To be all of a sudden hit with this bombshell, really, that our £250,000 of the sales had actually just been completely switched off.
The firm has now had to scrap plans to invest in a new £1 million hub here in the UK, which was going to create new jobs. They've also suspended deliveries to Europe and are now campaigning for a change to the Brexit trade deal, and that's brought attention from the world's media.
We had a tweet that's now hit 4.5 million views. The last 6 days, and I've done nearly 60 interviews. Not just UK press, Chinese television are sending a film crew. There's a German film crew coming down as well.
Looking at other stories making the headlines, and a new study's revealed lockdown is starting to slow the spread of coronavirus, but the level of people infected is at its highest levels recorded in England since last May. It looks like homeschooling your children will be the norm until at least early in March. We heard yesterday Boris Johnson deciding to put the brakes on pupils heading back into the classroom. Andy Salmon has created an education app for youngsters. He has this advice.
You've got to have something really cool. It's so important. You can't just sit back and do nothing and hope they'll catch up in a year's time. They may catch up with the government teachers' help, but you've got to look out there, see what's in the market, talk to your mates and find out what's there and use anything
You should expect to see more police at airports and ports as some travellers entering the UK will now have to quarantine in hotels. The government's added extra border restrictions for arrivals from countries deemed as coronavirus hotspots. It's claimed 1 in 6 workers have been made redundant in the last year because of their apparent. Slater and Gordon have released the figures. Ruby Dinsmore works for them.
Making a decision to dismiss someone based on protected characteristics such as being pregnant, their age, race or sex is considered discrimination under the Equality Act 2010.
The study also found a further 1 in 10 thought they were targeted for being pregnant. There's a warning of more snow for parts of the UK over the next few days. A yellow weather warning's in place for Scotland and Northern England, and mourners at the funeral of Larry King wore braces in tribute to the American late talk show veteran. The chat show legend died on Saturday at the age of 87. A reminder of the top stories on the Lunchtime News from Radio News Hub. We'll have your business news and find out which Netflix series is bringing a bit of old school class to the world. And in sport, hear how Sheffield United put a dent in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's title hopes.
Were you persuaded to buy solar panels with assurances they would pay for themselves or even make you money? If those promises haven't come true and you bought your panels in the past 6 years with a loan from Barclays, Shawbrook, Creation or Ecarno, then you may be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. At Solar Claims UK, many of our clients receive their settlement within 4 weeks. So text SOLAR to 60777. Text SOLAR to 60777 now. You don't need a claims management company to make a claim, and if unsuccessful, you can refer it free to the Financial Ombudsman.
You're listening to the Lunchtime News from Radio News Hub. A reminder of our top stories today. Scotland's First Minister is questioning whether Boris Johnson's trip north of the border today is essential, and parts of the UK are being warned to expect more snow in the next couple of days. A yellow weather warning for heavy snow has been issued for much of Scotland and northern England. Now, the business news: and the number of cars built in the UK fell to less than 1 million in 2020, the lowest total since 1984. The drastic decrease comes as Brexit uncertainty and the pandemic. Production fell by just under 30% compared to the previous year. John Lewis Partnership is set to axe around 1,500 jobs to try and cut costs. The employees who are set to suffer are the ones from head office, as the retail firms contacting individual workers to tell them if they're at risk of redundancy. The move's intended to help the business save around £50 million as part of wider plans to reduce its total costs by £300 million. And despite all the news about high street stores closing, research shows that 74% of UK customers miss the in-store shopping experience. Retailers like Apple, B&Q and Wickes are already leading the way, providing experimental destinations for both online and in their physical stores. Experts suggest the biggest winner will be the retailers who adapt to their successful digital and in-store environments. Now with the sport, here's Carl Hartley.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, Sheffield United pulled off a bit of a shock last night. I'll tell you about that in a minute. First, though, Chelsea fans are being promised that their team will be a force to be reckoned with. Those are the words from new boss Thomas Tuchel as his first game in charge ended in a goalless draw at home to Wolves.
From now on is the starting point, and we will absolutely focus on our strengths and the qualities that we absolutely have, and we will build a team that nobody wants to play against. This is the challenge, and the challenge for me to do this as fast as possible.
The Blues' next match is at home to Burnley. Well, Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says he was left frustrated following a shock defeat at home to rock-bottom Sheffield United. It was the Red Devils' first defeat in the Premier League since November. Well, that result has put Manchester City in the driving seat, who now sit top, a point ahead of their rivals, having played one game less. But we did hear Pep Guardiola say he is not getting carried away. Do you remember I told you about that yesterday? And there's still a lot of football to be played. And tonight could be a decisive moment for Liverpool in retaining their title. Jurgen Klopp's side are away to Spurs. Just quickly, some transfer news, and Rangers are already looking ahead to next season as the Scottish Premiership leaders have signed Jack Simpson from Bournemouth on a pre-contract deal. And that's a roundup of your sport, Kevin.
Time for showbiz news, and the trending Netflix series Bridgerton has been watched by a record 82 million households in the last 28 days. It means it's the biggest ever Netflix original series. The steamy drama's entered the top 10 in the popularity rankings in every country except Japan, while it's hit number 1 in 83 countries, including the UK. The singer from the band The Wanted, Tom Parker, has been given the vaccine as he's undergoing brain tumour treatment. He's urging his followers on social media to get it done after he was deemed extremely vulnerable. He shared his experience in Bolton while going to receive his first dose of the coronavirus jab. And Friends star Courtney Cox is making a surprise appearance in Idris Elba's latest music video, but appears to have no idea who he is. Courtney, who plays Monica Geller, wrote and recorded a tongue-in-cheek rap for the actor and musician for his latest song, which is a collaboration with Canadian rapper Connor Price. Titled Courtney Cox, the track is Price's homage to his favourite actress and childhood crush. Taking a look at the weather for today, cloudy and wet in most places with snow possible in the north. This has been the Lunchtime News from Radio News Hub with me, Kevin Pashby. You can find plenty more on the stories we've covered today at radionewshub.com.